little teddy face.
Elise needs a little baby dog. But we started looking at those online. They're like $5,000. I mean, who pays $5,000 for a little puppy?
I'm sure I can find a rescue. If anybody wants to get rid of their mini tiny puppies, give me a holler.
Mini tiny puppies.
I need something tiny to take it with us on the plane.
When it comes to work and life, you're either task first or people first. We're going to break that down and explain to you why it makes a difference.
Now is author Daren Martin.
Culture is the game. You don't change the culture, you don't change the company.
Great cultures over the course of 10 years will yield a 746% increase in your net profit.
Holy moly!
One person in the top 1% is worth 12 in the bottom 1%. Called the culture architect for a reason.
We need to get into it.
Okay. And welcome back to Company Culture with Daren Martin.
Elise Martin.
It feels like about 6 weeks since we've been in front of this microphone, but it was just like 7 days ago.
It was last week, yeah, we were right here.
So last week we did the first part of what we're going to be doing today being the second part, obviously. And we talked about last week ask versus tell. We said that people are on a continuum. You're somewhere along those lines. You're either ask assertive, which I characterized as you're sitting there at breakfast in the morning, you say, hey, could you please get us some more coffee over here when you get a chance, versus a tell assertive person who is, we need some more coffee over here when you get a chance. So that's actually the first half of, as you know, Elise, of the social styles model.
Right, we're doing part 2 today.
Yeah, which, by the way, we've this model taught at every KPMG Advisory University. It's a big deal. They were just actually, a couple of colleagues were there teaching, because I was speaking at a culture conference. And so the second part of that model, though, just as important, and what I should point out, man, we're just jumping right in. Ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready. I'm ready to rock and roll.
So the second part of the model has to do with your work priority, how you prioritize your work. So picture it this way. You come into work on a Monday morning, you go sit down at your computer and you're like, for about 4 hours. And then your head looks up and you go, oh, whoa, there's some people here. I should probably go tell them hi, okay? That would be task first, people second. People first is the opposite. They come in on a Monday morning, they go make the rounds. Hey, how's it going? How you doing? What's up? Hey, good morning.
Good
how was your deal? Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Guess which one Elise is. So they do, they go do the relationship stuff thing, and then they go, oh, I need to go get down to work. Very, very different kind of approaches. Task first people, people first people are the one that, oh no, the door's open, whatever. No, you're not interrupting. What can I help you with? What do you need? Sure, let's go. They probably tend to go to lunch a lot more with people, et cetera, et cetera. Task first people, it's not that they don't like people, they don't get along with people, but they just want to get their stuff done. They're more focused on kind of, let me get this out of the way. So they're the ones that when they're working on something, they'll close their door, or when you stop by, they'll say, hey, I'm kind of busy right now with something. Could you come back later? I'm right in the middle of something, instead of, oh no, whatever you need.
So they're getting their stuff done first before socializing. And other people, it's like, let's socialize and get work done. And
absolutely,
this is a different kind of concentration, I guess. And sometimes I feel like the people first people tend to feel like the task first people are rude. Right?
Oh yeah, no,
you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. So ask first people tend to view task first people as being really rude and just abrupt and kind of closed off and not very personable. They can come off in those manners. Whereas task first people tend to view people first people as distracting. They're the ones that are standing there at the cubicle yakking, when I'm sitting here trying to work. I asked some task first people one time, I said, how many of you have ever been at work and you have your headphones on, but you're not actually listening to music, right? And about 80% of the hands went up. Yeah, that's me. I put it on just to keep everybody from, messing with me and getting in my way.
But
So
it doesn't mean that they don't love people, because I worked at a company where because I'm very, good morning, welcome in, and I had a lot of those. Elise, it's too early. I didn't have my coffee. Elise, stop, please, stop.
Little
It's
Miss
Monday
Sunshine.
morning. There's no happiness here. Just go away.
Little Miss
But those are
Sunshine.
the ones that when I left were the saddest, because
They did not know what a great thing they had when you left there. But you had the little bit of joy that met everybody in the morning. And, that kind of the irony. And what I should point out is that we're really talking about work. Sometimes people are very much the same at home as they are at work. I mean, a work example of task or people would be if on a Saturday, a couple has decided, okay, we're going to clean the house and then we're going to go to the movie, right? If they're more on the people side, they're probably going to wake up in the morning and say, we save some money if we go to the matinee. Why don't we go ahead and we'll go to the movie first and then we'll clean the house later when we get back. A task first person at home would say, no, we said we're going to clean the house. Let's get the work done, and then we'll go have the fun time, right? Then we'll go do the stuff. So, I mean, you can, think about yourself and think about the people in your life as we're talking about this and characterize, one way or the other. But predominantly, we're talking about, because it's a company culture show, so we're talking about at work, the kind of people that you encounter. Think about your managers, think about your coworkers, think about even your customers. And getting this piece right is essential to really clear communication at work, because these two, as you can imagine, Elise, can just clash horribly.
Right, horribly, right? Because you get a task first person just wants you to give them the information.
Give me yeah.
And you get the people first people who want to tell you what they ate for breakfast and how they did this weekend.
And it can be annoying to task first people because they're like,
but
hey.
the people first people are like, oh my gosh, they're so friendly. I like them. And the task first people just give it to me. I got to get it done, and then we'll socialize later. This is not.
So
playtime.
we're obviously talking about kind of extremes here, and the point is, as we talked about last time with task or tell and ask, it's on a continuum. So you're somewhere on the line. It's behavioral. We can follow you around with the video camera, and we could see whether you are, tending to task first or tending to people first. How do you deal with interruption? How do you deal with people? How do you write your email? So on and so forth. So let's put the list up there real quick so we can give the breakdown. So task first people, they tend to be task first. They talk about facts and data. The data supports that we should do X, Y, Z moving forward. The people are the feelings. Well, that just doesn't feel right in my gut. My gut is telling me that's not the right path. And then the task force people are looking at them like, you're an idiot. What do you mean your gut? What does that have to do with anything? Fewer expressions. They use fewer gestures. They use an even tone of voice. They don't share emotions as easily, and consequently, they come across more formal. People first, opposite. People first, feelings, opinions, more expression, more gestures, varied tone of voice, more readily share emotions and feelings, and consequently, they come across less formal. So, this is what a task first person would. Hello,
Ready.
Elise. Good to see you. How are you?
Great.
Okay, so let's talk about the boom. Okay, they're going to come off a little more, to some people, stiff. Okay, they're not using their hands. They're not using their facial expression. It just comes off as very flat. And Elise, can we talk about the report that I sent? I want to get into the specifics of blah, 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 right?
So scary.
Or that's the more reserved. That might be more on the ask side. I don't want to get confusing here. But it could also come off as very directive. Hey, I need the report. Where's the report that I asked you for? Right?
So not to steer us away, because I'm not really confused, but I'm just curious. Like last week we talked about ask and tell, and this week we were talking about task versus people. So
boom, boom. It's a grid.
They seem very similar, like task and like tell people, and ask versus and ask and what's the other one?
Yeah, no. So it's a grid. We're talking about something that is kind of a cross pattern. So you've got, ask and tell going this way, and then task and people, task on top, people on the bottom. It's also been called, by the way, non-emotive and emotive, if you think about it. But at any rate, so, that ends up wherever you put yourself, you end up in one of those 4 quadrants. I don't even know that we're going to have time to talk about that today. But yeah, they can go hand in hand. So you can be tell and task first. People that are tell and task first come off as very bossy. Like, I need you to go do boom, 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 right? You can be task and ask, so comes off as a softer approach. You can be people and tell, which is just all this excitement about life and joy, and you can be ask and people anyway, not to get too confusing.
Right.
But so if you think about it, when you watch somebody from across the room and they're doing this, so good to see you. Yeah, you do it. Show me expressive right there. Give me your.
Oh my gosh, so good to see you. How was your weekend? I was looking at puppies yesterday. They're so cute, and they're like tiny little puppies.
Okay, so that is definitely going to be more on the emotive side, right? You're using a lot of expression. And if you're doing that, though, with someone who is like, okay, well, you're wearing me out right now. What is with all the big smiles and the hand movement? Whereas someone who is more flat like that in terms of their affect is going to come off to someone who's being super, quote, bubbly or whatever, label you want to put on it, very emotive. They're going to come off as just, what's wrong with you? Why are you being so stiff?
I learned over time that usually people like that, you just want to do the, hey, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got an email. I had just taught a class. This is a year or two ago. And I got an email, and this was the email. Okay, this is the sum total of the email. Okay. Right? It said, I need to know if you are available June 22nd and what your fee is. Okay, that was it. There was no, dear Daren.
No, thank you.
There was no thank you, et cetera. So I remember because, there's just a way you talk to people, at least the way we think they do. So I wrote back, and basically what I said, Elise, was I said, hey, dear Catherine, thank you so much. Great to hear from you. Hope you got home safe. Hope you were able to pick up some things in class you've been able to use. Anyhow, so yeah, it looks like I'm free that day. Good news. My fee is typically for that kind of engagement somewhere between this and that, depending on, the engagement, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks for reaching out, Daren. I read that email, threw it in the trash, and I read in the proverbial trash, the computer trash, obviously. And I wrote back and I said, I am available June 26th, and here's my rate. Right, here's my fee.
So you changed the email.
I completely changed it.
Right, and just to point out again, it's not about changing the way you naturally do or react or the way you are. It's about adjusting your speaking language to someone who's speaking another language.
Yeah, it's a completely different language. And the issue is that people who are task focused, when you come in hot with all of this, hey, how's it going? Hope you're having a great day, blah, blah, blah. They're reading that as just noise, right?
Right. When you get like that 6-page long text message.
Touchy, what they consider touchy-feely.
How are you? When I text a friend and I get like 10 yards of, and I don't even read that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah, so people that are task first tend to view a lot of personal stuff in the workplace to be noise, whereas people that are people first think that's just part of human interaction. That's part of doing business together. So I've worked with both. I've worked with some people that if you don't match their energy level, if they're coming in like, oh my goodness, man, I'm so excited, blah, blah, and they're like this, and you go, that's really great. Then what you're unconsciously doing is you're creating a barrier between you and that other person. And some people say, well, I can't do all this stuff. Well, you better learn to, because if you really want to connect on a significant level with someone who is coming in that way, you're going to lose in that interaction, because they're going to be looking at you going, I don't know what it is, but I don't feel comfortable with you, or I feel like you don't really care about me as a person. And I can hear people right now that are even hear me saying this, oh yeah, I hate those people, a bunch of whiners and so forth. And then there are other people watching this going, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've got a boss like that, or I've got somebody at work that just is so, removed and stiff and cold and uninteresting.
So do you think there are task first, people first cultures, like countries? Like,
yeah.
Right? If we think of like what, Russia?
Okay, Russia would definitely be a tell culture, right? It's German culture would be tell. Japanese culture would be much more on an ask standpoint. I think in a lot of Southeast Asia, it can tend to be more ask. I grew up in that region, but I actually, just from my little experience, I think Vietnamese culture, for example, is very much a tell assertive culture, and we're getting into last week, but whereas Thai culture is much more of an ask assertive, it comes, there's just a difference, there's a nuance. So you certainly get with task versus people. Of course, the joke about America, or not really joke, it's sad commentary, is that in America we live to work, whereas in Europe they work to live. And you can look at some very laid back cultures where work is just kind of there to happen, but they're really existing for the people side. They want to go hang out at the bar, they want to have the time and so forth. So as a country, sometimes we can be very task driven about get the work done, do the stuff, so on and so forth. So you certainly get that nuance across cultures, and you get that nuance across families and across companies. When I talk about Disney, for example, and I ask people if they think that, Disney is more a people-focused business or a task-focused business, and they'll typically say which. What would you think?
People.
Yeah, it's a small world after all.
Right.
Mickey Mouse, and you got the happy,
Happy.
joy, right? And you
Cinderella.
got Cinderella, you got the castle, you got all of the princesses, you got the
Hugs.
Yeah, hugs, etc.
Smiles.
Here's the tricky part, though.
Candy.
Anybody who's ever worked for Disney or has been a part of that company will tell you that it is a very task-focused business. What do they call it? Down in the tunnel, right below the
to the minutest detail, right?
Oh,
Up to just the way they point. Not allowed to point. They have to use two figures.
Is the park clean or not clean?
Very clean.
Does the parade run on time?
Yep, everything runs on time.
Because they are down when they present as a company, because that's their brand,
Right.
a very people focused. We want you to have a great experience. This is awesome. And you feel great being up there. But the way they're running the business is really on that task first side.
So
we do it this way.
So if we say that Disney is a task company, they have learned to speak people.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So
I'll give you another great one right here in our own backyard. But Southwest Airlines, the success for them very early on was a combination of being very people focused, right? But they could also be happier, and they could be more customer centric and have a good time and joke and cut up because the planes were on time. I mean, they were also for a time, I don't know if they are now, but they're one of the most on time airlines. They learned how to flip a plane. They learned how to do the mechanics and the logistics of making that whole mechanism work. So there's all this task focus behind the scenes, and then here's the people expansion. But if you think they were being loose about things like, getting the plane clean, it's no big deal, get to it when you're ready. No, it was very...
It would ruin the business.
It was very
They have
task
to be both, right?
focused.
So I think we're getting off track just a little.
How?
Maybe.
We're talking about task and people.
We're talking about-
Wasn't that our subject this
I know,
week?
but we're talking about companies, and I think we should probably focus more on the individuals.
Okay, so who do you want to focus on?
I don't know. What do you think you were?
Are you being Ask Assertive or Tell Assertive now?
What are you?
Are you being people or I think, I don't know what I am. I think I'm a range. I used to be very ask and people, and I've kind of shifted somewhat over the course.
I think you're very tell. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You think I am, or you're sure I am?
It depends.
Okay, what do you think you are?
Me? I'm Ask. Do you mind if we could
So-
please stop for a little bit on the thing? Can we go to this thing? Do you mind if we go to this place for lunch, please? I would really like to go. Can I have a puppy? Because he's very cute.
There are
you're
times that you get very
Elise,
tell
with the
assertive.
boom, with the stuff. Let's go eat barbecue. Okay.
Okay, but in fairness,
Yeah.
there are sometimes you're very task focused,
That's
right?
true.
When you're in
And
the
I
middle
think-
of something.
I think everybody fluctuates between
Of
the
course.
two depending on situations, but for the most part, people are one or the other. Like I'm mostly
Or you lean towards
I
one
am.
or the
I'm,
other. Yeah.
I'm mostly people first, but sometimes I get it's crunch time, stress. I get very task focused. Please don't bother me. You know what I mean?
Okay, so do you want to show the quadrants?
Yeah,
Should we? I think that'd be
let's look
helpful.
at
So this is how it breaks down if you put it on the grid. So if you picture the very top arrow there, that is task, not emotive. These are the people that come off a little more, staid, if you will. The bottom is people first on the bottom, top to bottom arrow. The left side is ask assertive, and the right side is tell assertive. So people who are ask assertive and task focused are the analyticals. They're all about facts and data. They're about accuracy. They're about completeness. These are the measure twice, cut once folks. These are the, they spell check their email. They want to get it right. So they want 100% of the information, by the way, before they make a decision. So on the other side, you got the drivers. They're tell and they're task. So they're all about results, efficiency. They're 80%ers. That's close enough. If they had a philosophy, be get it done. Bottom half is like people first and tell assertive expressives. This is like my sister Debbie, the famous Sabrina Jeffrey. She's very much down in this quadrant. Creative, fun, energy, and enjoy it, but they are just a mile a minute and, constantly coming up with new things and ideas and stuff. And that's kind of their frame. And then we got one more up there. If you are Ask Assertive and people first, amiables, they're about relationships, consensus, team building, do it together.
I'm an amiable expressive.
I think you're an amiable. I think Hugh, by the way, over there is an amiable. Hey, Hugh. I think you're an amiable. Ziggy, what is Ziggy? Is Ziggy ask or tell?
Ziggy is an expressive driver.
Oh, okay, an expressive driver. So he's on the right side, more tell assertive. So
He's expressive, but he's a driver. You don't mess with him.
Think about the people in your life. So if you were to characterize it, this is going to be a little reductionistic, just in its oversimplification. But an analytical, these are the ones that generally their desk is very nice and neat. They've got the things they want time. You don't put them on the spot like, hey, can you give me the thing for that? No, they don't like that. Give me a little bit of notice. Let me dig into it. Let me do a little bit of research. They don't like to make snap decisions. Okay.
So analyticals are the ones that come into the store and you're the salesperson. You said, hey, you should buy this TV. This is so cool, blah, blah. And they're like, I like it. Just give me a second.
Yeah.
And they're reading the,
Or they probably turn around and walk out of the store.
And they're checking the specs. I mean, a lot of us do this, but they're very, it can't be pushed.
They don't want pressure sales.
No
they
pressure.
don't want put on the spot, do this, do that, right? I forgot completely where I was going with that. So that's kind of the analytical. The driver is the person that comes off as, hey, you need to do boom, 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 right? They can come off as real jerks.
And mean.
And mean in the workplace. When that's not actually the case. If you learn how to speak driver to a driver, that when, by the way, you want to be tell with tell assertive people or you'll lose every time. And you want to be ask with the ask assertive people so you don't come off like a jerk.
We talked about my boss last week who is, when you complete, the scale, he's a driver. He was a driver. So he was task first, tell assertive.
Yes. So you better be task first with him.
Right. So you got to give him what he wants and say it to him in as short, little words as possible.
And they'll be your new best friend.
Yes, because he appreciates getting it done.
Yes, absolutely. Right? So expressives are the people in the workplace. They're like, hey, let's have a good time. Let's go. Everybody want to go to lunch together.
Happy hour.
Yeah, happy hour. Very much about the happy hour, although I guess all of them could be about the happy hour, although some of them don't want to socialize that much. They'd rather, I just want to go home. I don't want to hang out with these people. But yeah, the expressives are the life, the energy. They're coming up with a new idea every minute. And then the amiables are just the really kind, thoughtful. How you doing today? It's so
Great.
good to see you. How I was thinking about you this weekend and about, that thing you were telling me about with your mom and they're just very soft and nurturing. These are the ones that will notice if you're having a bad day. Some people are like, what do you mean they're having a bad day? I didn't, what are you talking about? Well, you couldn't tell. They were so quiet in the meeting, right? The amiables are sort of the people. So which do you think of these quadrants, which do you think make the best leaders in a company?
All of them? Expressives?
Okay, all of them.
All of them.
Any of them can, because I've seen leaders we've worked with some people in the last year or two on some of our speaking gigs. We've got one that we have, we're gonna have another meeting with, and super excited about, because we hope we're gonna do a repeat. But just the kindest, most thoughtful leader of a company. He's very amiable, and he's just, you really get the impression that if something was going on with you, he would be there. He'd be there to help, whatever you need, considerate, thoughtful. And then we've worked with some other people who are like, boom, here it is, down to business. This is the deal. This is the stuff. And the the trick is that I've seen, look, there have been presidents. I mean, if you want to talk about, let's just rattle off some presidents real quick.
Sure.
Bill Clinton for sure is an expressive. Okay, he's they say if you haven't.
I feel like maybe he wasn't amiable. I feel like Hillary's a driver.
Way too. Yeah, Hillary's a total driver. Richard Nixon was a driver. I am not a criminal. I'm going to tell you. I'm looking at Jimmy Carter was an amiable, right? So we've seen down through. By the way, former President Obama he's still alive. Is an analytical. And that was why he was criticized somewhat when he was running for office the first time. His speeches. He doesn't believe it. He's not, because he came off more like
a robot.
What the American people need to understand, right?
And he's thinking while he's speaking, but that's because he's an analytical. He needs 100% of the data. He needs to get it perfectly correct. It has to be perfect. I think analyticals are the people that vacuum the rug and leave those like perfect rug marks.
Yeah. So
I love those.
Yeah. So, by the way, Steve Jobs. Total driver. Okay. Bill Gates, maybe more of an expressive. I don't know where I would put him.
I don't know. I haven't seen much of him in the media, so I wouldn't be able to. I haven't seen him in so long.
But these characterizations really do play out. So this has been like such a quick hit of a very important model. It's something we teach on a regular basis, and do a full. We're getting ready to teach it in Colorado coming up for a day and a half.
This sounds like it could be a bar game, though. Print out the 4 quadrants, pull out your pictures from magazines of your favorite actors, and pin them to the quadrants.
Well, look, you could do this. You could do this with Game of Thrones.
Driver expressive.
You could do it with Game of Thrones.
Amiable. And like whoever got the most right gets a shot. I'm sorry.
I mean, if you just look at Game of Thrones characters, Cersei is a
driver.
No questions asked, right? I mean,
you
just if you pick out the different characters,
the queen, Cersei is a driver. Who else? Jon Snow. I think he's an amiable.
Probably more towards the amiable side.
A
smoldering amiable. He's a very Moon Shaka is totally Tell Assertive.
Dragon Queen. She's so Tell Assertive.
Yeah. So at any rate,
yep.
Game of Thrones. Okay. Elise got me into watching Game of Thrones. Now I'm hooked, and now they're not coming out with another episode till 2032 is what I heard is what's going on. At any rate, okay. So just in summary, you gotta figure out, am I task first or people first? And more importantly, what is this other person giving me? If someone stops you in the hallway on a Monday morning and says, hey, I need that report, don't be offended if you're a people person. Don't be like, well, hello to you. How was your weekend? Don't be that way. Just recognize, hey, they're speaking a different language. And I just give it right back to them, and give it back in a way that it's concise. And, I'll have that to you in, an hour. Boom,
and if somebody's expressive, try to be a little more expressive. Just a little, even if it's hard at first, you'll get into the hang of it. It's like speaking a new language, right? When you first start learning like French or English or Arabic or whatever, you speak very slowly and it's kind of messed up. You won't get it right. But then over time, you become a lot better at it.
If you're going to ask something like, I need that report from someone who is more on the people side, you better start with, hey, how's it going? Hope you had a great weekend. You don't have to have a 30-minute conversation about their dog or about what they did, but just lead with something that's a little softer. They'll be a lot more apt to jump in, because when you do come in, like I just said, and where's that report? They're like,
Definitely walk around your office. Think about John, Joe, Jilly, you're getting your coffee.
Task,
just have a watch, I would say, first in the beginning. And just say in your brain, is that person more people first, or is that person more task first? And then think, okay, the way they approach me when they need something, how does it sound? And then you'll start to figure out like who is what, and it'll help with the interactions. It might even change some people that you think just hate you. It turns out that they're just task first. It's not anything personal.
Absolutely. So, okay, Elise, it's that time.
Yeah, Martinez.
So this is similar to one that we did a while back about the forms, but it's a continuation of that. You were dealing with that this week. And it's when you call up a company about an issue and you put in all of your information and then they keep asking you. Every time they transfer you to a new person, you have to explain it all over again.
Oh my goodness.
We live in a time where that ought to be, once I've put in my account number or the last 4 digits of my social or said my little magic password, right? Whatever that is, and done that thing, then that information should be conveyed. First of all, you got a big problem if you're being passed off. How many people did you talk to this week on a customer service call?
FedEx. 6.
It was like
6 people.
Package didn't show up on time.
I want my package on time. It's a big problem. I'm gonna take over Martinized again.
Go for it.
It's a big problem because we only have 3 major carriers, right? We have UPS, FedEx, and we have USPS. So we don't have many choices, right?
DHL.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
There's a couple others out there, but
I know, but I'm talking about the
big dominant ones.
Dominant ones, right?
So we were expecting a package. It was supposed to show up on time. It didn't show up.
We paid for 2-day shipping. It should arrive at 10:30. They guaranteed it arrive at 10:30 a.m.
You paid through the nose for 2 days, and rightly so.
Because
we
we
kind of
needed to arrive
we were
on
last
time.
minute, yeah.
And then it didn't show up, 11:30, 12:30. I'm like, it's okay. People have, sometimes there's problems. I called around 2:30. I'm like, hey, it's supposed to be here. Where is it? Oh, it looks like they had mechanical problems. Well, we'll just call you when it's there. Ding. I'm like,
Okay, so first of all, why are you calling them? They should have been calling you,
Right, they should have
saying,
said,
hey, I
"We're
want
so
to give you a
sorry."
heads up. It's
yeah,
not like they
and I
don't
would have
have
been
our
like, well,
information.
stuff happens,
Yeah. But then you started getting past circle to circle to
Well,
circle.
it got to be 5 p.m. and I'm like, it's useless to me now. It should have been here this morning. I need a refund. The guy says, oh, that's the wrong department. Let me transfer you. So they transfer me again. Then I have to tell them the whole story again. It was supposed to arrive at 10:30, blah, blah, just like a refund. And then she said, ooh, okay, let me just transfer you to billing. And transfer you to billing, and then billing says, oh, I have to tell her the whole story again. And then she says, ooh, we can't actually give you a refund until the package is actually delivered. I'm like, are you kidding me? Give me a manager.
Okay, so I'm really frustrated with this company because by the end of the day, you were just
Livid.
like this.
That's my word, livid.
Guess who bore the brunt of that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding. I knew something was wrong because my normal, sweet, very loving wife had turned
I got
into.
passed off 6 times. All I wanted, it should have been simple. Your package was late. I'm so sorry. I'm going to work on the refund. Have a nice day. I'll send you an email.
Okay,
That's it.
normal bunny rabbit Elise turned into Godzilla. Okay, it was bad. It was just a bad situation. So is that your Godzilla? But it was just because of the frustration in dealing with that. Companies should be proactive. They should be proactive in figuring out how to capture your information in a way that can be conveyed. If they have to transfer you to somebody else, make sure that information gets passed on and it's not just stuck there.
No,
Okay.
the best example I have is that, like, let's say I worked at D Magazine. We had customer, problems sometimes. But the point is that, let's say the customer calls. I am not the person that's going to have the answer to the sales question. So something to do with sales. I'm going to put her on hold, but I'm going to try and make it as smooth a process for her as possible. She doesn't need to feel that I'm running to 6 different people to figure out what I can do. She just needs to feel that it gets done as soon as possible. I don't transfer her or say, yeah, it's not my problem. I'm going to send you to somebody else. Oh, it's not my department. No. Absolutely. Let me just hold 1 second and then blah, blah, so-and-so. Get on the phone, pick up the
You do the work rather than passing them
I
around
do
and
the
making
work
them
because
do
the
it.
customer is important to me. So customer is important to you. Make them feel
So
relaxed.
show some initiative.
Yes.
Get your system up to speed where it can keep track of stuff. Okay. So
Not just that. Every bad customer experience is an opportunity to wow your customers.
Okay, awesome.
There.
Absolutely. So, by the way, send us your ideas on Martinized. We know there are things you're dealing with out there that are frustrating to you, that you're encountering either about your company culture or about customer services. You're out there interacting with other cultures. What are those things that bug you? We'd love to kind of highlight them on the show. So
Right. Don't forget to subscribe,
subscribe. Thank you again.
comment, submit
Subscription.
your questions.
We're getting a lot of subscribers.
Yes.
It's really growing on YouTube. That's
Yep.
great. We love all of your comments and feedback. So, but I think that's a
No
wrap.
wrap. Back to my puppies.